Welcome to Kicking It Local, the podcast all about the football community in South Australia. I'm your host, Johnny Kecko, and today I'm kicking it comfortably thanks to Macron Sports Hub Adelaide, providing clubs and sports podcasters with their teamwear needs. Macron Store Adelaide.com.au to find out more. And today I've put together my highlights package from 4 of my chats from my 40 plus interviews I've done in Kicking It Local so far, and it's hard to choose, but in today's episode, I'll put together some highlights from my chat with Hayley Routley, who loves a great Simpsons meme. Olvia, the current coach of Adelaide United, who used to play for Adelaide City. I caught up with him ahead of the Australia Cup game between Adelaide City and Adelaide United in 2022. Also, Olivia Bramley, who used to play for West Adelaide and now is playing in Victoria for Heidelberg United. But first, I'm going to go back on my chat with Marcelo Carrusca, an amazing player in the A-League for Adelaide United, winning the grand final with them in 2016. What a lovely bloke he is. And now he sees himself running Carrusca Academy, producing the next generation of footballers here in South Australia. And what a philosophy that academy has. So he talks a little bit about that. And also we get into the discussion about A-League All-Stars, where he featured in 2 of the first games against Manchester United and also Juventus, which had a star-studded team. Let's get into that chat with Marcelo Carrusca. You played in the 2003 FIFA World Youth Championships alongside Carlos Tevez.
Yep.
He is a well-known name in football, but you also got to play against him in the A-League All-Stars. I want to bring that up because there's talk of the A-League All-Stars making a comeback, because it copped a lot of criticism when it first started almost over 10 years ago now, and you were a part of both of those against Manchester United and also Juventus with Carlos Tevez. What was it like for you playing for an A-League All-Stars game?
That was great. It was an honor to be part of that team, especially the second time when I was playing in the first 11 with Del Piero.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Playing against Juventus in Sydney with a lot of people watching us. I think was an amazing experience. And playing against players like Carlos Tevez, I know Pogba, people that still playing in a high level was nice, was amazing.
I left out a few names out of that because there was Buffon, Pirlo, Pogba, and also Carlos Tevez, many more in that team. And also on your team you had Alessandro Del Piero.
Yeah.
But you scored within the first 10 minutes and got one past Buffon to get the opener for the game.
Yep.
What was that experience like for you scoring that goal?
Yeah, look, it's great. Always you play, you want to do well, and if you score better. So I especially those kind of big games motivate you to play as your highest. And I think I have a really good game that day, and I was lucky to score the goal against Buffon, so I can tell my kids one day.
Yeah, it was a good game because a lot of clubs come to Australia and they don't really bring their full strength squad, but they had
all
stars
of them.
galore. It was good.
Yeah, very tough game. We lost in the last couple of minutes, what 3-2 was. But it was very, very nice game to watch and to play as well.
Yep. Did Carlos Tevez remember you from your youth days as well?
Yeah. We exchanged the shirt after the game. We were talking when the game finished. We spent a couple of years in the youth system in Argentina, playing together, training for the under-20s, qualify, and after for the World Cup. So we got have good memories.
That's cool. And now they're talking about reinventing it and bringing it back potentially this year. What for you as a player? Do you think it's a great concept to have something like that?
Yeah, definitely. It's good. It's good, and it's something else for the fans to get involved and to see. Like for example, now is Manchester United coming. It would be great to create a team and play against them. For example, this big team that come to Australia, so people get more involved, get excited. I have a lot of kids in the academy that I'm telling me they're gonna go to watch a game. So those kind of things bring the game up, and the people start watching more football. That is more support around A-League, which is what we need.
Absolutely, we need more support, and I think it'll be a great thing because having one club like Melbourne Victory play against Manchester United or LA United play Liverpool, only that club's going to watch that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if All Stars, I watch because yourself and also Galekovic were in that team, and also some of the best like Del Piero and all that. It was a great time to be an A-League fan, I think, back then as well.
Yeah, it was Jose Gambao as well, the coach, Berisha. Yeah, we have a lot of good players from every club.
Yeah.
That is what we bring all the A-League fans together.
And now you played for a long period in Adelaide, in the A-League for Adelaide United. You left Adelaide and went off to a couple of other stints at other clubs in the A-League. But then once you retired, it was a couple of years later, you retired from professional football.
Yep.
And you came to Adelaide and you went to West Adelaide and played 4 games for them in the local competition.
Yep.
What was it like for you being in a professional competition like the A-League and then stepping down and playing in a league like the NPL?
Yeah, it was different. It was very, very different comparing with A-League. So one of the reasons I didn't play much and I played only 4 games because of the lack of professionalism, I guess. Yeah, and I went there because West Adelaide was doing the new facilities.
Yep.
And I was setting up my academy there. That was my thought when I came back, and after 2 years, I started my academy 2 years before that. So I was thinking to build my academy. Those facilities would be amazing. And yeah, and after I saw still the facilities are not finished after 3-4 years. So that's one of the reasons I decided to stop and focus only in my business. It was the academy, and focus only in the kids, because at the same time I was doing both things and wasn't enjoying the football. So yeah, it was as always, make a decision to finish and don't play anymore is difficult, but I think it was the right thing to do.
Do you think if you had chosen another club or a different league in Australia, would you have continued on, or is it?
Never know. It's difficult to say that. But yeah, when you enjoy playing football, it's different. You have a different mindset. When you're not enjoying anymore, everything changed. So I was about to finish anyway. When I didn't have the opportunity to get a contract in A-League, I started to think about retire. I said, okay, let's play one more year and see what happened. And yeah, after 2 months, I made a decision, which I think was okay, because I started focusing my academy at the time, and you know how difficult it is to establish and grow a business. So I think it was a good decision.
It was a good decision for the future of the game as well, because as you said, there's a lot of academies in Australia, but there's not as many with as much experience as you have around the world. Not just here, you learnt here, or you're just from Australia, but it's great to have that experience from South America style of football, the European style that everyone has played over there, now establishing their own academies here. So it's good to have that input now and changing the way of the kids learn. So for yourself now being involved in the academy, was it always something you were aspiring to do?
Yeah, always when I was playing, I was trying to help the younger of the team, because I grew up that way. I grew up when I started playing professional, I was 17, 18 years old, and a lot of all the players helped me a lot in my career. And when I was playing, I was doing the same thing with the young group. And when I retire, I decided to do that because I told you before, I saw an opportunity there for me to share the experience with the kids, and the kids to learn a little bit more. I don't know. As I said before, I don't know everything, but I have a lot of experience, and my idea was to share that with the young kids, and I think we are doing really well.
And Carrusca Academy, what kind of experiences do you offer at Carrusca Academy?
Yeah, so basically we had different programs. We got the development program, which is the one that everybody can come for every ability. And after we had a high performance program that I created this year, and it's for players that I picked and I choose from trials, or kids that come to the junior development program. They have a bit more high skill level, let's say, because I believe when we put players with similar abilities together, the development is much better. So that's why I create that and have those options. And as I said, being at Vipers as well, create that philosophy within a club is important. And basically what we are trying to do is the kids in the development program that love the game and spend time with the ball and put the kids in game situations, which is very important, so they can decide, make good decisions on the field and stay all the time in a game situation, let's say. Also, we are focusing the technical part of the game, and being technical player, always be focused on those small details. And what I believe part of the philosophy that we have, that the kids need to learn the fundamentals the good way and the right technique from a young age, because when you get older, to change a habit is very, very difficult. So from young age, we teach the kids how the technique should be in a fun environment, because for us, if the kids don't have fun, the kids don't enjoy the session, don't make sense to run an academy. So in a fun environment, we have different programs, and we try to help the kids in different ways. And also we want the kids to have experience overseas, to go and compete, those kind of trips that you remember for your whole life after. To create this experience would be great. And basically for us, it's not only football. I haven't learned only about soccer, only the game. For us, is the main thing is to the kids learn life skills. This to be respectful, to be on time, to be committed with something, to eat healthy food. All those things that you learn through football, for us are the main thing.
What a great guy Marcelo is, and what a great player he was as well for Adelaide United. And man, I'd love to have that Carlos Tevez jersey right here in my podcast studio. How cool would that be? Now let's go into my chat with Olivia Bramley. She now plays for Heidelberg United in Victoria, but last season she was at West Adelaide, where they won the cup, they won the treble. But I caught up with her just after winning the cup with West Adelaide, and she talks about that moment and also the celebrations that came along with it. Seems like a very fun bunch that they were in 2022. And we also talk about the Women's World Cup, which is only around the corner. Great chat with Liv, and she's such a lovely person as well. So very bubbly, and I had a great time chatting with her. Let's get into my chat with Olivia Bramley. But it's good to have you back here in Adelaide. Now you're playing for West Adelaide.
Yeah,
and it's been very successful during your time there. You've already won the premiership and the cup.
Yeah, incredible. So last year, I guess, the finals weekend at Fulham, we were playing relegation. So we beat Bacala to stay in the league. And then this year, it's like the opposite. I've still got a final series as such. And it's, the other end of the ladder. So it's been awesome to experience that. And I think that's absolutely credit to the club in the way they support the women's program.
Yep.
There's a lot of dedicated people behind the scenes, like Rachel, Kirsty, and Tracy herself as our head coach, like just driving that forward. And then the playing group themselves, there's good people, a lot of talent in our team. And then when you just bring that all together, I just feel like it's just, a recipe for success. Like, it's overwhelming as a player, especially as a defender, when I sit there and there's games, I just watch the girls ahead of me, and Rachel's doing her thing on her chest, and Em's making runs down the line, and I'm just have to two-step on the halfway line.
Well, I was privileged enough to be at the game, watching right on the pitch side, and just seeing the way you guys were playing with each other, and the way you guys react, the way you guys act within the core group as well. It seems like you guys are at next level, not just as teammates, but also seems like there's a bit of a friendship going on between the club as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's probably never been in a team where everyone has had the same vision and the same level of in it for the team. There's not one individual in our team that just wants the glory or it's just about them. It's genuinely about all the success. We work for each other. We work for the badge. We work for our coach. So that I think we all back what Tracy does in that sense as well. And it just shows, the way we celebrate. There's, we even look at Annie back in our goal. She didn't always join when we're scoring so many. But, she's there. And Rachel taking her celebrations at the weekend over to the bench. Like, every player in our squad, like even through the reserves, like we are just one, and we just want to kind of not just be good footballers but really change the game, and we're about more than the results. We're about the women's game. We're about inspiring the next generation, and I think that's really special.
I think you are doing a very good job of that as well, because the way you guys play is incredible, and I love the way you guys were celebrating as well. You can see how much it actually meant to you, especially being 1-0 down at the start to Adelaide City, but managing to come back and to take it the way you did was a very good game to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting, like when we do come up, we have the bigger games, because there's times maybe in the league where we aren't as challenged, and it's some of the things come off a little bit easier maybe, and so then when we come to the games, it's almost that shock to the system. But I think throughout the season, we had a draw against Salisbury a few weeks ago now, but I think that again just keeping us on our toes, and then a few other games where we've had to come back, so we've almost experienced it all. And I think in the earlier rounds, I didn't play it, but against Adelaide City the first time, I think I can't remember the score, but a bit of a heavy loss there. So I think we've learnt a lot from some micro failures as such. And so now, I don't think going 1-0 down is, some teams can think that's a downhill road, but for us, that's, just another thing. We'll score 2, we'll score 3 kind of thing. So there's just nowhere. I just feel like we're an unstoppable kind of group at the moment, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Now, the celebration on the field was amazing to watch, and you guys gave me a lot to film as well, because I was on the boundary line filming for the live broadcast. So every time you guys celebrated on the bench, it was great for me because I got some really good shots. But unfortunately, I haven't seen anything on social media yet, but I've heard whispers that there were some very good celebrations happening down in Lissing afterwards.
Yeah. I think you heard right. So obviously like the week before we're premiers.
Yeah.
But I think a few people we had, we celebrated the success along the way, but we definitely had the following week in our heads of we're not done, and we're still not done. But obviously, bit of time, bit of breathing space. So I think we did just take a moment to get together, and like I said, headed to Lissing, sang our hearts out. Don't think there's as much singing talent as football talent in our team. Everyone loves sober karaoke, right?
Yep. Yeah, sure. No. Did you get a swig of that champagne afterwards as well? Because I did see that going around.
Yeah, I think actually Mallory might have snagged most of that, but can't say there wasn't another bottle in the changing rooms. And I think my dancing move might have took over, kind of getting a swig of that. Got a bit carried away.
No, it's good to see that celebration. And do you reckon, obviously you mentioned that you won the premiership the week prior. And now that you guys know that you've won the premiership, you've got a few rounds to go before final series kicks off. Is that what helped you guys celebrate even more? Because all right, we've got a couple more weeks to go. We can at least let our hair go and just relax for this week and enjoy the ride.
I guess so, but I guess it's like a fine balance of, we're not done, and if you go into the next 2 games with not the same mindset we've had, there's you're not really champions. So even the next 2 weeks, it doesn't change the ladder position, but absolutely it's our momentum, it's our standards, it's our professionalism, it's what we all stand for as individuals. But I guess just this week, it just becomes more and more real that it was 8 years since West Adelaide have won the cup. So real big, just big things to celebrate. I think I've always been quite a serious player. So at university, it's changing now, but a bit of university culture in the UK is a bit of maybe drinking attached to the sports societies. Not so much with the team I was in. We're trying to change the culture of that. But I kind of always hid in the background and was very focused. Big fan of Rio Ferdinand and the way he talks about Manchester United in the glory days and how relentless you have to be. And they just, it was one win after a win and you just didn't take your eyes off. But I actually think you know, if we look at it more holistically, you do have to celebrate these moments because they might not come around that often. I think, especially with the pandemic, shows how quickly, you know, all the football you could play might just be taken away from you really quickly. So it's important to celebrate and I think embrace the positives. But yeah, we're not done, and yeah, we might not have many vocals, but definitely got the hunger still to keep going.
Well, if you win the grand final, what will be your song of choice for the sing this time around?
Well, I don't know, again, coming from England or whatever, but there's definitely some things we need to improve on in our celebration. So I think I tried to start the Freed from Desire song. So, yeah. And just change a few lyrics like, you know, Westie's on fire or Quiggs is on fire, Mel's on fire. And week one with the premiers, when we won the premiers, didn't quite take off. And everyone was like, what's Liv doing over there? And then this week we got a bit better. So I think that's, you know, when we win the treble, we'll be in true sync with singing that, or maybe a bit of ABBA will come back for Tracy. She had that on, so we'll see. Yeah, who knows? Send your song requests in, and I'm sure we can take some up on that.
Nice. Well, definitely post those on the social media. Get those going
maybe
around.
Once the treble's out the way. Yeah, perhaps share that with everyone.
Well, talking about the cup, you won the WNPL WSL Cup, but the biggest cup on offer for footballers in the world is the World Cup, and it's going to be on our shores here in Australia next year in 2023. It's a big occasion for women's football. We've seen it grow in women's football grow over the last 10 or so years, but in the last few years we've seen a bit more of an increase because the excitement's building around this World Cup coming here, and we're seeing extra teams going into the A-League Women, which is fantastic. More opportunities there for women's footballers. But what do you think in your from a person that comes from the UK outside of Australia, what's an occasion like getting the World Cup here mean for women's football?
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, just what a fantastic opportunity. I think, like you said, the build up to an event like that, but even, you know, if you get it right, and hopefully, you know, Australia and New Zealand will, but you can really create that legacy and inspire the girls. Like, you just see it now. So from the Euros in England, and obviously the Lionesses absolutely stormed that tournament and is on home soil and they've won.
Yep.
And you just see it now, even the way pundits talk. And unfortunately, yes, there's still sexism around, and there always probably will be, unfortunately. But the way, you know, the seriousness in the game and to showcase the talent, which there absolutely is. And when that's on a world stage, the audience you can share that with is incredible. And hopefully a lot of the young girls around the world, but in Australia, you can really see the potential that soccer can have for them.
Let's hope so. But they've obviously Football South Australia, and I've spoken to Michelle Smith, the head of the referees, about this because I think she's on the Legacy board, and she mentioned about the pillars. There's a few pillars they have for the Legacy plan, and one of them is infrastructure. And you played in one of those, one of the parts of the Legacy, which is the Service FM Stadium, the brand new State Centre for Football in South Australia. That is something that's come out of this World Cup campaign. What was it like to play a place like that? That's that probably, if it wasn't for the Women's World Cup and having a Legacy plan, we wouldn't have something like that. Yeah,
it's fantastic, and I think to have, like, you know, I don't want to say, but a grass pitch with, you know, stands is awesome. It creates that real good fan base, and we can come and have the atmosphere, and it does feel like, you know, playing a final in that environment is special, and it creates that special environment, and it's just nice to have a hub for football as well. I think Velo Park almost was kind of had something similar, but not a stadium, not a grass pitch, you know, not the facilities in the change room. So it just adds to it, and it adds to the professionalism of the game, and how I'm a big preparer in terms of each game. And so having facilities like that just really helps that and makes things a lot easier.
What other things do you reckon you want to see come out of this opportunity of the World Cup coming to our shores? What would you love to see it do for local football as well, on top of the way people see women's football and also the infrastructure? Yeah,
so I think firstly, just to showcase the talent and to really see that trickle-down effect. So I really hope that, the young girls can really be inspired, if they don't participate already, to participate and know what soccer's about. Because for me, like, it's changed my life. Like, it's everything what my life is about now. But when I first started playing, it was just, you know, like the friendships you get from soccer, the outlet and the things you learn around just playing the sport is, invaluable. So I really hope, people that don't play do, but the girls that do, they have more opportunities to. So, and that comes down to coaches. So, we need good coaches to teach and to have the appropriate training to do so. And that's, consideration to the holistic side to it as well. Like, how are we looking after our players and how are we supporting the females along the way? Because there's lots of different, I guess, challenges, not just challenges, but the way female and men's football is, there was always going to be differences. So having personnel to support that journey, like you said, facilities, just places to play and times to play. Just getting more people around it. Like, who doesn't want to talk about soccer and play soccer?
I know.
What else?
Who doesn't? How cool was she? I loved catching up with her. One bit I did leave out as well is the bit where we spoke about her last name, which is the name of an apple, the Bramley apple. Bet you didn't know that. Well, maybe you did if you did hear the full chat with Liv. What a great person she is. I've really enjoyed catching up with her. Now my chat with head coach of Adelaide United, Carl Veart. Absolutely loved catching up with him as well. Talked about his time at Adelaide City, where he used to play, and what he's taken from Zoran Matic's coaching days and put into the way he coaches these days, as well as his friendship with Damien Murray. Let's get into this chat with Carl Veart. Going back to when you were back there in the early 90s, you was a very successful time for Adelaide City. You won 2 NSL championships and also an NSL Cup while you were there. What were those memories like for you back in those playing days?
Yeah, look, I got great memories of that early 90s team. We had a lot of success, not just there, but most of us were teammates with the Socceroos as well. So there was great memories looking back there. We, as I said, we had some great players and most really one of the best coaches that I ever played under, in Zoran Matic as well. That's taught me a lot as a player and as a person as well.
Would you say those days shaped you as a coach for the way you are now with Adelaide United?
Yeah, most definitely. As I said, Zoran had a huge influence on me as a player, and also I have a lot of I suppose some of his traits that he taught me back there that I'm instilling in my playing style as well.
What are some of those traits that you picked up from Zoran Matic that still live through your coaching style now with the Reds?
Yeah, look, Zoran, even though we had a good side, we had to work extremely hard, and we had to be humble, and it was very important for him that that we played, a good brand of football as well. He had a certain way that he wanted us to play, and he was very strict on that. And I have a bit of a brand of football that I want to play with my team. I don't have put as many restrictions on the players like Zoran did in that time, but I still have a lot of respect for and the way that he taught me and the way that he set his teams up to play.
Well, he obviously had a really good style of coaching because he produced a lot of really good players back in those days from Adelaide City. And also one player that also played alongside you who's a very big character in the local game now as a coach for White City. And he's also your assistant coach last season in 2021 as an interim assistant coach for you guys at Adelaide United. Damien Murray, big character in the local game. What was it like playing alongside him back in those days?
Yeah, it was fantastic. We became great friends, and I suppose I was influential in him bringing him from Melbourne to Adelaide City because we were such good friends, and we've kept that friendship going right through. And Damien was a fantastic player, a great goal scorer. He had that knack of knowing where the goals were. And credit to Damien. He's worked extremely hard in coaching. He's given a lot to the local league here, and I thought he did an exceptional job for us last year when he came in at late notice and helped me at the end of last season.
And yeah, it was a really good inclusion having him there, and also seeing how successful he is in the local game. Everyone wanted to see him in an A-League club, and we think that he can do that. But yourself, seeing him from where he was when you played alongside him, now as a coach, how do you think how far has he come as a coach from where he was as a player back in those days with you?
Yeah, look, Damien as a player was very driven, knew what he wanted. Very similar to the Zoran style, and I think you can see that in the way his teams play as well. They're very structured very well defensively, very difficult sides to break down. and again, he expects his teams to work extremely hard. I think, I've watched a lot of his teams play over the course of the local NPL seasons, and you can always say that his team were always the fittest team in the league.
There's a video I saw online of you two back in those days. I think you're in your early 20s. He was interviewing all the players and interviewing yourself as well. And he was a bit of a jokester in this video. And is that what he was always like off the pitch? I think he called you Thomas in there as well.
Yeah. Look, I say we had great friendship, and we still have a great friendship. And Damien was, a little bit of a character, very loud. He was always sort of centre of attention. He liked the attention, and I suppose that's why he was such a great goal scorer, because that's the way he was. He demanded that he, get the ball all the time when you played with him as well.
Well, you've talked about Damien Murray, but you've played with a lot of big players at Adelaide City back in your time there. What was one of the standout players that you had alongside you at Adelaide City?
Look, I suppose both the Vidmar boys were high quality, but I suppose the main player that sort of sticks out to everyone's mind is Milan Ivanovic. He was so cool and so casual as a player, and always was in the right place at the right time, and his ability on the ball to bring the ball out of the defence and go through the lines was exceptional.
He is a great player, Milan Ivanovic. So you went overseas to England after leaving Adelaide City, and you had a very good career over there, which you ended up playing in an FA Cup game, which kicked out Arsenal in the FA Cup in 1995-96 campaign. What was that game like for you to be involved in such a historic cup competition in the world?
Yeah, look, as you say, the FA Cup in England is most probably the biggest cup competition in the world football. Everyone knows about the FA Cup, especially back then. As a kid growing up, that was the living in Australia. That was the main game every year that you watched was the FA Cup. So it had a great history, and to be able to play in that tournament and to do well and score goals in that tournament, it was I feel very, very lucky to have done that. To be part of that competition and to do well.
And that Arsenal game I mentioned where you knocked them out, you scored the only goal in that third round win. What was that like to score against Arsenal back then?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, as you say, at the time they were in the Premier League and we were in the Championship at Sheffield United. It was a big night at Bramwell Lane, and it was a full stadium. And to knock out, one of the heavyweights, it was a great feeling, and to have scored the goal, it was, as you say, sometimes that's what, as a young player, that's what you dream of.
Absolutely. And then you made your way back to Adelaide, where you saw yourself back at Adelaide City, but you were there for another 172 games. Then you made your way to Adelaide United because Adelaide City fell out of the NSL. They departed and went back to the local leagues, which they now still are in. But Adelaide United were formed, and you joined them in their first season in the NSL, which ended up being the last season of the NSL before the A-League came around. What was it like for you to join a new club in Adelaide and start that new journey with them? What was that feeling like being a part of that?
Yeah, it was an exciting time. And I think the exciting time when Adelaide United was formed was how the locals state, everyone in football in South Australia got behind Adelaide United, and it was a one team for the whole state, whereas Adelaide City was seen as Adelaide City, and it had a lot of history with West Adelaide and a lot of the other local sides. So the way Adelaide United formed, it was like all the clubs had a part of it. So and we got great support that first year, and that first game at High Stadium was one of my great highlights in my whole career, because it was just such a fantastic night for football in South Australia.
Yeah, that was a massive night on in South Australian football, as you said. But what's the main thing that still sticks in your mind from that night? Because I remember watching the crowd, the fireworks, everything going on. It was unbelievable. What's one thing that sticks out of in your mind from that night?
Just the crowd. To have a sellout for the first game, and to have all that support of everyone in South Australia getting behind the team, and the noise they made that night, and for the whole season they got behind the team. It was fantastic, and I don't think we've ever, I'd love for the club to get back to that support that we had back in that year one.
What a great bloke Carl Veart is, and I'm looking forward to seeing him at Adelaide United for a few more years to come. And he's producing some great young players down there. And now, since that time as well, Damien Murray is working alongside Carl Veart. So how cool is that to see the two friends back together and loving that duo. And now, one other thing I love is Hayley Routley. Her passion for the local game now sees her working at Football South Australia. But before she got that job, she was a massive football fan and loved, well, actually still loves, her Simpsons memes everywhere on Twitter. You'll be able to see it. We talked about the playing days, very minimal they might have been, but she talks about that and the moment she created with her son and her father to recreate a moment that her father had with his grandfather. She talks about that, and also the game of Two Halves, a game show she worked on with some of the best names in Australian football. This is a great chat, and let's go back and listen to Hayley Routley. Speaking of air, you haven't really played much football, pretty much the same as me. I think you played a little bit longer than me, but you've managed to get involved in the game so much. Where did the love come from for the round ball game?
Yes, absolutely. So right. Like the first question I always get is, you really love football, you must have played, or you play right now? And my answer to that is definitely not. The extent of my football career was back when I was 6 years old. I played, I think, 2 seasons for St. Augustine's in Salisbury Heights. I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but I do have really random memories of this time. When I was the only girl on the team, I scored just 1 goal in those 2 seasons, where the ball literally just fell at my feet in a bit of a scramble in the box. And this is the age group where they don't pay offsides yet, so I was probably offside. And then one game they made me go in goals. If you know how tall I am now, I'm about 5 foot as an adult, so you can imagine how short I was when I was 6. I conceded 6 goals and I cried. So I can fully empathise with the Northern Mariana Islands under-17 keeper who went off crying at halftime the other night against the Subway Joeys. So I don't know if my parents just didn't really push me to keep going, because I was the third child. I was the youngest child. And I think by that point, parents don't really want to have their weekend taken up by any more extracurricular activities. So they're probably glad to have just dropped that. And I say that in jest because I 100% know my dad will be listening to this. He's my biggest fan, biggest cheerleader, and I appreciate him a lot. So that was that. I tried again when I was 19 with Athelston, but I found that I went to uni Monday to Friday, I worked Saturdays, and then I think games, they kicked off at like 8 or 8:30 on Sunday mornings. And for me, it was my only day off and I just wanted to have a sleep. That was where that career ended again. So for me, the love of football has simply just developed from being around it and watching it. So my dad and his side of the family are from England, so there's that sort of innate love of football there that already exists. And then instead of obviously playing football on the weekends, what I used to do is get up and watch 4 hours straight of Simpsons reruns on Fox 8. Yep. But then after that, we always just had sport on the TV. So I think I just grew up just watching football all the time, and it didn't have to be my team, it didn't have to be my league. It was just, loving watching any type of football. So I've just continued that throughout my life, and that's what I've always done. And sort of in the last 5 years, as I kind of touched on before with the Ladies League, I've started immersing myself more in that football community. I didn't do it prior to that because I actually didn't have the confidence to voice my opinions. I didn't really want to get shut down too much. So the Ladies League kind of gave me the confidence, being surrounded by like a supportive group of people. And then, of course, joining Twitter, that just continues to expand your horizons because you see people talking about all sorts of, leagues across the world. And that's where it's kind of all grown from there.
You talk about your dad just a little bit earlier about how he loved the game. I saw a post you put on Twitter. He was a Villa fan back in the day. His first ever game he went to was with his grandfather. Something special
Yeah.
happened with your son earlier this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we were so lucky to have Villa come out and play some exhibition games here. And so I made sure I could only get to the Brisbane game. The rest of my family went to all of them. They went to Perth as well. But because I did have a young son, I don't know how old he would have been, maybe like 12 weeks old or something. I flew up to him, did Brisbane return in one day, which I do not recommend with a young child, but we did it. I took him to that game with my dad for that pure reason that, here he is, he's able to do the exact same thing that my dad got to do with his granddad. He is now doing with his granddad here in Australia. So I know we often mock those exhibition games and we say, what's the point? And a lot of Premier League fans are like, why are they doing this? You're just at risk of injury and things like that. But that was actually so special to be able to have that moment here because I'm not getting to England anytime soon with 2 kids under 3.
Yeah, that's true. But what was that moment like for your father to be able to do that and recreate the memory that he had with his grandfather?
Yeah, I think he absolutely loved it. He's not one to share a lot of things on socials, but he was straight up like, take a picture, and then he had posted that up. And then, I put that tweet up and I got on the plane, and then I think I got off the plane and it already had 700 likes, and it grew to, I think, double that. So I've got about 1,500 interactions now. And a lot of people from England interacted with that tweet, and it got mentioned in a few podcasts as well, which was really cool. So it was good to see. I think it gave a lot of people some perspective about why teams do this.
Yeah, no, it does, and it's something great like that because not many people get to experience, especially like with your father being able to recreate that moment. It's going to be special for him, and then when your son grows up, maybe he can do the same when there's another exhibition game, hopefully.
Yeah, it's probably, let's be honest, it'll be the next time that Villa comes out. It'll be 30 years' time.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens there. But it's so special, and those moments are always great. And that's what's the best thing about football, I think, is creating moments like that. Now, you probably started off a love for football for your son, and he's probably not even old enough to realise what he's getting into just yet. But you probably started a lifetime of football lover right there. Yeah,
and he's already got a million football outfits. I think he was wearing the little jersey onesie to that game. Even my daughter, she's got a little jersey with Routley written on the back, which will inevitably be handed down to him as well. So before they even know what it is, it's what we spoke about before, that innate love that already exists. Yeah. I think it's because we instill it generation after generation.
Yeah, that's it. And I've been, when my nephew was born, I went straight to LA United and bought him a membership. And actually, just before coming on here with you, I just got off the phone with my brother, and he's already wanting another LA United jersey. And he's only 7 years old. So they've got about 6 or 7 already. So they want another one.
I've got to buy one every year.
I know. I've had to stop buying myself one now so they can have, I'm spending the money on them. But that's what happens with football. But with yourself, you've had the love for football was there, and you found your way, like myself, where we weren't playing, but our love was so strong for it that we managed to find our way back into it somehow and giving back to the game. How's that made you feel to be able to still be involved in it? And does it give you the same satisfaction as what you thought you would get from playing?
Absolutely. For me, I always tossed up, after year 12, should I pursue journalism or something else? And in the end, I changed my mind last minute. The day before you can submit your uni preferences, I changed it away from journalism and made it dietetics. And there's always been a part of me that's thought, was that a huge mistake? Should I have pursued journalism and tried to get into this sort of sports side of things? And so I feel very privileged that I've had a few opportunities come my way that have been quite different, not expected. I've just kind of taken it for what it is. And I've been able to meet some really great people along the way as well. It's not lost on me how great it has all been. Yeah,
well, you said you met some great people along the way. There will be many to list, but what is one of the greatest moments of meeting someone or even speaking to them in your DMs or something like that you've been able to have so far?
So I think in terms of a game of two halves, so if you do want me to touch on that, so it was a weekly sort of topical football news quiz show. It aired on YouTube. It was a bit like Have You Been Paying Attention, but for football. And without having the individuals, there were 2 teams. One was captained by Scott Jamieson and the other one was Bubs Barbieri. the teams, like they had different guests every week. So I did get to meet quite a few people. When I say meet, I mean over Zoom.
Yep.
But there were journalists like Vince Rugari, Michael Lynch, Joey Lynch, and then former players. There was Travis Dodd on one week. That was really cool because we didn't tell Jamo about that earlier. And, there's a lot of banter between them two. And we wanted to capture that genuine reaction of them seeing each other on there for the first time. But we also had Bruce Dutte. That was awesome. Riley Dobson, Jenna McCormick, and Sarah Walsh as well, which is an incredible one, former Matilda, and she's head of, Cup Legacy and Inclusion at Football Australia. So I know it sounds like I'm name dropping a lot there, but actually the most incredible part was, being involved in this Slack group with the likes of Simon Hill and David Squires. And the reason that's so special to me is literally on my coffee table, I have two books. One is Simon Hill's A Gob on a Stick, and the other is David Squires' Goalless Draws. So they've always sat on my coffee table, and for me to then be involved in a project with them where I had direct line of communication. I've got Simon Hill messaging me about the show. It sounds like I'm fangirling, and it's because I am. Like that was, meeting your idols basically.
You have every right to be as well, because as a commentator myself, watching Simon Hill any football fan in Australia loves Simon Hill. And he was the host. The reason why you were communicating with him a lot is because he was the host of this show. But what was your involvement in there? Because you were on camera a few times, I think keeping score, but you're also behind the scenes doing some work. What were those your involvement in that?
Yeah, so I was initially approached by the editor, a developer of it was Kevin Ayres, who was the editor of 442 at the time. So he's the one who kind of came up with the show concept. And he messaged me, he said, hey, would you be interested in writing for this show alongside some of the A-League meme guys? So I think they needed a gal in there to balance it out. So yeah, I was actually heavily involved in scripting that show. And I think what people don't realize is so much work went into that. It probably just looked like a bit of a Zoom, home setup. But I think we scripted 7 shows before we even filmed the pilot. I think it was just to make sure that we could, get enough content every week, and we had the ability to work to a timeline. So 7 shows before you even saw something actually happened. Yeah. And then, as you mentioned, I was also the scorekeeper. I think that happened by accident and natural attrition. No one else wanted to do it. So it just ended up being me. And yeah, rightly so that others didn't want to do it, because I think I just got yelled at by Jamo and Bubs every single week. Footballers are very competitive people, even when it comes to a quiz show.
I love that. And so what goes into scripting? Like, because it's a soccer TV show, a football show, but it's a bit of a fun aspect to it, having a bit of fun, questions, quizzes. Yeah. So what's involved in scripting a show like that?
Yeah. So we had different segments every week. There was always like an intro, and then like a 442, like comparing 2 different scenes. My segment was like a headline segment where, a word was deleted from a football headline and you had to guess what the deleted word was. Jamo absolutely hated the segment. He said every week, oh, this is so stupid. I said, hey, I'm the scorekeeper. I'll deduct some score off you for that. So it was mostly just during the week, you had to be kind of abreast of everything, because although it was quite A-League and W-League, A-League women's focus, it still did touch on what was happening in Premier Leagues and the European leagues as well. So just, having to be quite current with every event that happened in that week. And then we would, throughout the week, just kind of post that to each other, and then, start developing an episode from that.
That is so cool that you, I've done some work in commercial radio and working with some idols that I grew up idolizing, and being able to message them and say, oh, we've got this week, I got this guest on. Yeah, I know what the feeling's like, but someone like Simon Hill on a national level and all the other names you were with is a great thing. But once you realize you're involved in that and it starts to feel normal, when you sit back, did you ever have a moment to sit back and think of the people you're around? Because I've done it a couple of times where I'm around some people that I idolize as a 10-year-old, as a local football fan, and now I was buying their jersey, and now I'm working with them. So what's the feeling like if you had that chance to sit back and just soak it all in?
Yeah, I think at the time it probably just all melded into one and took it for granted a little bit. And it was only when I did sit back and reflect, and I think I was trying to apply for a football related job, and I was trying to drag anything football related from my past and to write it down. And I was trying to list all these guests. I was like, wait a minute, we actually had a lot of people come through who, are very familiar names who, you see on Twitter, who you've seen play, who you have jerseys of. And as I said, like, 2 people who I have their books sitting on my table, and here they are right in front of me. So unfortunately, the show didn't get picked up in the end. It just was on YouTube. But to me, it's such a brilliant concept, and I'm probably just biased in saying that. But I think, like anything in football, if it had some funding behind it to really jazz it up, it would have been a super awesome idea. And it would fill that gap that I think we're still missing for that light-hearted content, with the Sam Santoinette and B-League. We haven't replaced that. And I still think, soccer fans are a bunch of funny people, and we really want, want that gap filled. So, if anyone has a bit of money, get behind it.
Sponsors, get on board. But to talking about the Zoom aspect you're talking about this show, it happened during COVID that it all got created? So I remember, I think Simon Hill was in studio and he had multiple cameras for each guest. So no one was actually in the studio with him at the time. But now the COVID's kind of moved on and we're back to being a part of studio. Do you reckon this concept could make a comeback?
Exactly. That's what I think. So you're right. It did start during the start of COVID. And also I think COVID normalized things being, able to be on Zoom, and we were okay with watching things like that. Use the word studio loosely. It was filmed at Ultra Football in Sydney, which is basically like a big
makeshift
rebel sport. So he was the only one there, and then there were 4 TV screens on, like, I think it was meant to look like benches, they're sitting on the subs bench. Whereas I think it would better translate in person, like, have you been paying attention and things like. I think it would be easier for the banter, and people would loosen up a bit quicker, because I found at the start, footballers maybe not as funny as they think. I say that, I hushed a little bit when I said that. I don't want to.
No mention of who? Because I might tag him in the Twitter post.
Travis, no, he's not.
He and Doddsy, Jamison are some of the funniest pairings. Some of the best.
And the Bruce Jitte episode was one of the best.
Which one, sorry?
That was awesome. The Bruce Jitte, when he was on as well. Yeah, that was awesome.
Some big names in that show, and what a great person Hayley Routley is. I loved meeting her last year during my time commentating, and it's great to see her involved heavily in the local game. Very much needed to have people like Hayley working in our community. But what a great highlights package that was. It's so hard to choose. I've spoken to so many people throughout my time here interviewing on Kicking It Local. Over 40 plus interviews and guests on this show so far. So many to come. And looking forward to sharing more interviews to come. And thank you for joining me for my highlights from Marcelo Carrusca, Olivia Bramley, Veart, and Hayley Routley. That was Kicking It Local. Make sure you subscribe to Kicking It Local wherever you get your podcasts so you can get a taste of the SA football community. Plus, follow Kicking It Local SA on Instagram and Twitter so you don't miss any of the action. See you soon.